When you master any skill, let's start with the simple one, like when we mastered how to walk. We failed, and over time we figured out without thinking we can do it. So when we master the skill of walking, you can say that we are mastering to be unconscious but to get things done, in this case, walking. And the same may apply to painting, for example. I don't know how Picasso felt about how he painted, but as I remember, he was talking about he found the mission of painting to connect to the people's suffering, emotion, and put that thought into the painting or something of that nature. And he says the painting is stronger than me. So something beyond his capability is found from somewhere, and I use the term being conscious of unconscious because the skill is already in his unconsciousness, as in the case of walking. And the same may apply when you invest money, like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And he got the sense of figuring out how to do it from early days. So there are lots of stuff from his experience, early life, learning, and trying and making this mistake as much as walking and making mistake, the same thing may have happened. But since he liked so much about investing and making money, but truthfully enjoying it instead of making money is the purpose of it. It's just like a side benefit. He liked what he wanted to do as much as Picasso did for his painting. I wonder in my case what the aim is, but if I were to say a few words on this, I've been curious about people's behavior, why we do what we do, and how, and what's the reason. How can it be done so that it flows smoothly? So the mastery in this case may be related to, if I use the word, the spiritual awakening, as if the law of nature or God is living in us and it talks to us and manifests its activity like laws of universe would coming out through myself. And I use the term transparency. When my mind is not occupied in anything, I can sense this inner body sensation, and you are in the now, connecting to the surroundings as much as connecting to inside. So inside there's no blockage, mind is clear, no mind, or empty mind, it's the way that the Zen monk prefer to use that. And whatever happens with no mind, as in the case of the walking, painting, or investing, or spiritual search, or in management, whatever the term is, you learn over time, and that's the capability we have. So mastery is as if to connect to the root of our being, the laws of nature, laws of the universe, coming through us over time. Because we really like to do something, it's beyond our knowledge, but the intuitive sense welling up from inside so that the life energy flows through. And you feel this sensation, inner body sensation, I call it the Waku Waku, bubbling up of the energy from inside, like a spring water coming up. And when you are blocked for some reason, you feel it. And then you look inside, outside, and figure out what's going different and find the passage. That's the process. I may want to use the word Sila, Samadhi, Panna. Sila is right conduct. You learn how to do things better. And as you live, there are, external situation changing and internal situation changing. So you face something unfamiliar. And then you go into the calm and quiet mind, Samadhi. It may take a few minutes or a few seconds or a few days, Depending upon the situation, I explained that sometimes I spend 6 hours. This is to my friend, that something is not quite right, that I feel something is not quite right. So I stay quiet, not doing anything. And for some reason, there are a couple of them who was inspired this saying that I mentioned to them. They practiced it and they found the awakening or relief from the unsettled mind, coming back to the empty mind. Empty sounds very negative, but in emptiness is a clarity that the mind is clear, as well as your mind connected to the root of our being is clear. Therefore, the transparency is the term I like to use. And I found the poem by Ryokan saying the same thing. I think Eckhart Tolle was talking about the transparent somewhere. Don't recall where. But I was happy to hear that because that's when I see the transparency within myself. There is no blockage. As much as I had this awakening experience that they call Bangha in the Vipassana, and when it happened, I questioned that I'm having a pain, and is it because I'm trying to escape from the pain? And when I questioned that to myself, something happened as if the bottom opened up, and then I had this amazing experience, clarity, energy flowing, no boundaries anymore. The pain is gone. Everything looks fresh, new, as if a rebirth going through that. So if we can picture the rebirth as much as when we are born, we have that clarity before we have the knowledge. That's why I talk about the Garden of Eden. It's not just us human to develop by eating the fruit of the knowledge, apple, and then kicked out of the Garden of Eden, because we may have abused the mind and caused something unreal, maybe interrupting to the Garden of Eden or the nature. So we start to have this artificial human skill of the brain, mind, and start to use that, good and bad. And along with it, we may have accomplished a lot, and we may have secured the basic need of physical pain and prosper on the earth. But the pain is shifted to the mind, and we may have lots of trouble because we see lots of things happening in the world, especially these days, and because of technology representing the use of the brain, even the artificial intelligence extending that use of the brain. But if we are not using those tools, the brain or AI, and that often happens, that I see within myself, with others. So we need to go back to this right conduct, Sila, to try the basic things of life, like golden rule, and a bunch of other proverbs we have. Then calm and quiet mind, Samadhi, and Panna for the wisdom and compassion with each other. So that's the way of the mastery as we evolve. And therefore, I mentioned now about the mastery and the nature's way, and being conscious of unconscious. The unconscious is the laws of nature that we have acquired as we start to live our life. That's the source. That's the laws of universe prevailing within us. But because of the knowledge being so powerful and mind occupied in so many directions, we need to master this, we need to do this, you need to do that, we can do this, we can do more of this, and all of that. And then nature's way is gone because human ways exceeding the nature's way that was there at the Garden of Eden. So be conscious of unconscious. That's paradoxical expression, but going beyond the mind is the point, that there's some source, the force of the universe, the laws of the universe prevailing. And don't be self-centered ego and focus our own way of life, but connect to the source. That's the basic point that I see we need to regain, as if to go back to the Garden of Eden, and then you can eat the apple again. So it's like rebooting, if the computer analogy is used here. Operating system get clogged up with all the sorts of things and confusing and beyond the limit of making sense out of it, so that we need to get back to the nature's way, so that we listen and find the source that is beyond the mind capability. And that's what we face at this moment, many of us. So in essence, it's connect to the root and find what it is: transparency, clarity, nature's way prevailing in us and everywhere. Respect that and be humble, not stretch out human imagination. Well, that may be the part of nature that is manifesting. And if so, if you want to stretch out, let's be considerate about the potential danger that we may have encountered in the past. Luckily, we came thus far, overcoming hurdles. But let's realize the futility of ego-centered, human ego-centered way of life, so that we don't get burned out. I think the signs are around. If we notice it, my suggestion is to reflect on where we have been, how we get here, what the mastery is, and what's the nature's way versus human way, and then connect to the root. There's amazing world manifesting in nature. All the plants, insects, animals, so many varieties expressing what they can. We are one of them. Let's see if we can find a good harmony with nature among ourselves and find the path into the future while having fun. Thank you.